What? You record? Come on, what are you recording for?
Because you never know. We might want this later. It's not going to be on the. We can stop it and then start it
Yeah.
again.
I was just about to say I need to crack this off here. Give me here. I'm just gonna where is Zoom? Fuck is Zoom? There you go. No. Oh, there we go. All right, hold on. Just gonna stop my video. Where can I hide you? I don't want to see this anymore. I guess I don't need to stop my video. Oops. I'll just stop the audio. Okay, hold on. Momentito, see if you play.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Okay. There we go. And we're back. And now you're away. Okay. I'll be back. Yeah, boy. You there?
Yeah,
There you are.
yeah, come on.
Okay.
Um, So I'm looking at Instagram. Fuck, that's not what I want to do.
Oh yeah, shit. I forgot to post that up on Instagram.
No, you didn't. You posted something. Oh,
I sent an email out.
look at that. Nice. I just posted the link on there
Okay, cool.
under the post that you put up there.
Hey, how come? Hmm. That's too bad that it cut off that way. That's a good photo of her.
Who's that? Oh, that's her too. I see. Look at all that cut down her arm. Holy shit.
I know,
She's fucking ripped.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just jammed with the World Pro, World Champ.
World Pro. Come on.
All right. Oh fuck! I forgot to comb my beard.
Man, you slouch.
All right, I gotta go comb it. Be back.
Ah! I don't even know why we're recording this crap.
And congratulations once again.
There you go.
All right. Well, but we're still in practice session.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second.
All right. We're all still new to this, Juliana. Sorry. Hey, there he is. How you doing, buddy?
Hi back here. I don't know if they can see me.
They can.
I can see you.
What's
Hey,
up,
Jimmy.
buzz?
I don't know if Jim
They all
can
said
remember me.
Hi. All right.
Does he remember me? Do you know?
People have a hard,
You
easy
remember
time
William?
forgetting you, Paul.
from
Come on.
Toronto?
Yeah.
You're hard to
Alright.
forget, Paul.
Well, okay, that's good to
It's
know.
true.
It's, I've forgotten so much in my life. I just don't know how much of me I forgot. So we're just going to do the first 10 minutes. Juliana, we're just going to do a little kind of jam between Mason and I, and then we're just going to jump right into it. I have a special intro. I don't know, probably, I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, but for the last 7 years, well, I've done 7 years of introductions at the Toronto Island Maple Leaf, big tournament that took over after the TIO.
Okay.
And the first year, the tournament director asked me if I could introduce people. And I thought, why not just roast them instead of introducing them only? So it's evolved. It was a very nice soft pedal at the beginning to where now it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. Each day is progressively worse. Now, and I'm not giving you an ugly today by far. It's more badass than anything else. But that's
Hold that thought for 1 second. All right, because you're about to. I'm going live now. All right.
anyways, that's our particular thing as our intro.
Here you go. Yeah. So wrap it up, and then we're going live. You ready?
That's it. Yep.
All right. So,
All right.
setting it up.
Welcome.
Here we go.
Sunday, January 8th. Here we
Hold
are.
on.
Welcome.
Hold on. Hold on.
Still in practice session.
I'm about to switch that too. All right.
All right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the webinar, our first Good Times Hour of 2023. Welcome back, Mace. It's been a bit of a an upheaving time over the last 2.5, 3 months for you
Oh
since the
man,
middle of
yeah.
October. Well, since the end of the USDGC. But
I'm starting to send my brain in the other direction, and I've got a lot of wheels turning. And so yeah, but yeah, it's been tough. It's definitely been a tough few months.
your outdoor lighting custom business is just booming, and that's you running it. You started it, and then you've got a lot of guys working, a lot of people working for you on shifts, and you got to quarterback a lot of that play. So that's nonstop grind for all that time pretty well. You had a small
Yeah,
little
I
time
think
over Christmas.
hopefully that, yeah, the lights, I think the lights right at the end of the tunnel, or maybe I'm at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. It's almost over. It's definitely
But now
almost over.
you're currently switching gears into your second best, maybe first best hobby, glass making, glass trophy making, specifically your contribution to disc golf. What are you working on right now?
I've got a session scheduled tomorrow night. I'm gonna start on the memorial trophies. I'm also, in 2 weeks, I'm going to Tucson to take a class on making marini, which is it's a form of cane. You make cane and then you slice the cane into smaller bits. They make little discs, and they're marinis. They're if you ever see a piece that's clearly like shapes, like squares or dots, or man, it's a variety of different things. There's a lot of different ways that they use marini, but it's images. You create an image in the glass, and that's when you manipulate it, which is basically putting two rods on it and then you stretch it apart. And as it gets tighter, it starts as a large glob, and as you pull it apart, it gets smaller, and it stretches into a cylinder, which is cane. So you cut it into small pieces, and then you slice it into very small pieces, and then you
Wow.
lay it on a shelf, heat it up, get it all to fuse together, roll it up on a bubble, or make it a bubble of its own. Which so I'm basically gonna learn how to do all that.
Sounds like you got a bit of advanced start on it already.
Well,
But
so it's down, and that's for down the road. I mean, that's not something that I can really. I'm gonna have to do a lot of work to learn how to use that properly. So that might be something for 24 in terms of like, I mean, I'm not gonna make any commitments because I don't know exactly how I'm gonna use it. I think I'm gonna use it in some of my lighting fixtures almost immediately.
oh wow.
And
Right
because when you illuminate through it, then it's that image is even better. I mean, it's going to look nice anyways, but then it really looks good when you backlight it. So I got that going. I got trophies for USDGC, Dope Pink Women's Championship, and then Memorial. The Memorial obviously is the next one on my plate. I got it delivered at the beginning of March, so I got to get cracking. And I also have a 2-lamp order for a couple of two-piece table, like in table lamps, something like that. And quite a few things on my plate with that. So
busy guy. But
I'm
it's all
ready.
going to culminate. We're looking forward already, and setting our vision forward to the 25th anniversary of USDGC. You said already that you're making the trophies for that. You're already
Yeah.
thinking in terms of that, but you and I are going to really try our best to make a presence at the USDGC at the vendor village.
Yeah, the vendor village.
Is that what it's called? Okay. And hopefully we can make a spectacle there. Certainly make a spectacle of ourselves.
Well, no question about it. I mean, but this is the 25th, so I mean,
Yeah.
we started talking about that even before this last year, but especially in Rock Hill this last year in October 22, obviously, we talked about the award ceremony right after it happened for next year.
Hmm.
And like Jonathan and I had a real long talk about it, and then it was a great one. It was just like, okay, we're gonna do this, we need to do that, and just different modifications. Well, it was, like, you couldn't be more fresh. It just happened. Oh, all right, so I like this and I didn't like that, and he goes, or he said that, and then I said the same thing. Yeah, you're right about this, and they're right about that, and here's a couple things I didn't like too. And then we're already, we got to schedule. I believe on Tuesday we're gonna have an award ceremony rehearsal. The Tuesday of the week of the championship, because
Wow.
well, we never have before.
I love the
But
theater of it all.
well, but I mean, we have to. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
it was live this year, and we did it all off the cuff. Didn't cuss on the mic or anything.
I love not having to operate with the 3-second delay. That's
Well,
awesome.
I can behave in front of adults. I just don't always choose to.
And we're looking ahead as well to really ramping up content and guest activities here on Good Times for this year. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of requests out there. Our first request for next week will be Roger Kanzler, living out in California, in West
Although
Coast.
we haven't heard back from him yet, but
But we're putting the pressure
got
on him
pretty
right
good-
here, right in the open.
feel pretty good about him saying yes.
We're also we've got a tentative yes from Avery and the Jenkins. You're going to be visiting Bend in February, I believe, at some
Yeah.
point. So we're going to hope that we can get you with Jenkins clan out there live on site.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm
at the
gonna
brewery.
definitely talk to them about that. I think I'm buying a plane ticket here later today.
Just that easy.
Yeah, I was looking at it right before the show.
Our main purpose here, as we've stated before, and we'll continue to state, is we want to really capture and celebrate the history and the stories of the sport. It's been a bit of an oral transmission. You show up at the course and there's some old guy that's been playing for 25 years, and you sit down and they tell you stories. But we want to keep those stories alive, and we want to talk to the originals, the people who really helped form and shape this sport. And to that end, I think it's about time that we start introducing our next guest, who's been waiting so patiently there and waiting to talk to the world. But please, the introduction first. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to RT our very next special guest. She's the Omicron queen of the mean Z's, the super duper Delta Kappa Cooper Trooper who can hurl a hella Anheuser. She's elegant and intelligent, always eloquent and never belligerent until she puts the beat down on the tournament. She has the arm that launched 1,000 drives with a smile that won 1,000,000 hearts. Eagle Fang Freestyle meets Crane Stance Boom Drive. She's the 5-time PDGA champ, the 4-time Whiff Dip champ, the 3rd least interesting person on this panel. According to Rookie Road, she's the 2nd best female disc golfer of all time, and she's the #1 friend of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Juliana Korver. We
Is that
can't hear
me?
you.
Thank you. Thank you very
right.
much.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
It's really good to see you again, Paul. It's been a long time.
Too long. I mean, 20 years maybe. I can't remember the last time I saw you. Maybe at the USDGC in 09. I guess 15 years almost.
Yeah, it's at least double digits, that's for sure.
Wow. Well, I've been following you on Instagram and watching you dominate new worlds, and it just, honestly, we're a family in disc golf, and when someone comes back to the game, you just feel like you've got the family member back. So it's wonderful to see you back and in action, in effect, ready to keep kicking grass and taking names.
Thank you very much. It's a different world out there, but yet the grassroots are still just underfoot. So yeah.
Well, and the first time I ran back into you recently, you said it pretty well in Phoenix at the memorial. You're like, this is just a big family reunion, and I'm glad to be a part of the family. And it's true.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I know. I'm just speaking to the family reunion aspect. I think I hide it somewhat well, but I'm extraordinarily introverted, and I never ever would have dreamt in my wildest dreams that I would have had a network as large and as it literally encompasses the entire world as far as being part of the Frisbee family. So it's one of the best gifts that the sport has given me.
It's interesting when you play around in a tournament, say, or around on the course, you can get to know someone pretty intimately well about the surface aspects of them, but also how they approach the game. Are they a fair person? Are they noble? Are they willing to call themselves a foul or whatever? But not know any details about what their life is. And in effect, that's kind of like an introvert's dream, is just to be on the shallow level of experience. And, but the deep bonds that we've created, look at this. I mean, you and I are in different time zones by far, and it's just as if we haven't missed a day.
Exactly.
So one of the things when I'm preparing for this is I was doing a lot of research. You gave a wonderful podcast interview to Brian Johnson, I believe his name is. Incredible, wonderful, warm, and embracing. And in that, and there's a lot of other interviews you've done, and I'm sorry if we're going to rehash the past, but your origin story, we all have that origin story. What was the thing that brought us into the game? We all know what kept us in the game, but what was the door that opened? And I love your story. I really do. I love the fact.
Let me interject just a second. It was Brian Earhart.
Earhart, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Apologies, Brian. Thank you for setting the record. But your first disc that you ever really actually saw thrown is this one right here, isn't it? Tell us about that.
Okay, so well, I won't back up too far, though it might sound like it. I have been nearly 6 feet tall since I was 13 years old. And I grew up in a tiny, tiny town where 3 communities had to come together just to have enough for a high school. So with my size, I've been playing sports my entire life, and I've had quite a bit of success, but I was in a teeny tiny itty bitty little pool. So when I finally got to a big university, I didn't think I was good enough to play, and I didn't attempt to play any of my chosen sports. And by the time I was a senior, I was really craving an athletic outlet. And disc golfer who had been playing pro since he was in high school, his name is Jason Steffen, was in geology classes with me. And we happened to be on a field trip once. He had his entire bag, and I had been making fun of him for quite a while leading up to this because I didn't understand the sport. And he was very myopic, like many of us are after we get obsessed with the game. And so every story was about disc golf. Every t-shirt was a disc golf logo. And I finally pushed it too far, and he got upset. And he's like, okay, Korver, pick something out. And I pointed at a grouping of 3 evergreen trees. And I said, okay, how about the middle tree? And it was approximately 300 feet away. And he had his whole bag, and he pulls out this red condor, and he takes a run up, and he sets it on flight. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that I fell in love with the sport mid-flight, because I could tell just how deliberate, just how accurate, and obviously the beauty of a disc in flight was incredibly obvious. And he put it very close to what I asked him to put it next to, and never joked in that way again. I turned to him and I said, teach me how to play. So
now, see,
yeah,
what strikes me about that story is that the flashpoint for you is the elegance and precision of that. I mean, you're a maths major, so the fact that you could see the math, like, do you see things in the matrix coding? Like, can you see to that level of mathematical binariness? Because
well, I can't compare it to how you see things, but I do think that I maybe have a little bit more of an analytical view of the world than maybe the average person.
do you think
Yep,
that math? Sorry, go ahead, Mace.
Oh, that's all right. I find it interesting that, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, or, and I mean, whether it's art or whether it's work, whether it's play, like, I just recently started thinking, well, maybe everybody doesn't think about things the way I do. And when I mean that, like, not so much about how I think about it, but what I see when I'm thinking about it. And what, I asked an artist early last year how he thought, and I go, do you think of everything in dots? And he goes, sometimes, and a lot of the time, because all of his stuff, like I was talking about Marinis earlier, all of his stuff are dot Marinis, and I'm just like, and it's awesome. It's amazing, but it's drastically different than anything most folks are doing right now. So I just wonder about that, the way you think about it, the way, like, are you coding right now?
I don't think I go that far, but I like to play with spatial, like the spatial reasoning and the spatial aspect of things. So if I see a chaotic mess, I like to try to put it in a block, and organize it. So when I see a fairway, I see the angles, I see the possibilities. But I think every disc golfer sees that. I mean, after you've seen discs fly, but I think perhaps it might have been a little bit unusual that I saw that before I ever threw a disc.
I think a lot of people may now see it because of, say, disc golf video games or simulations that show you, or you can add the After Effects on video that show you the actual, trajectory with a laser or a lighted path. But prior to that, I mean, you're talking the early 90s. You're envisioning this before any of us. I mean, yeah, it took me hitting about 900 trees to realize, oh, I got to throw with a little bit more angle over there to make that turn. Okay, but you obviously seeing your meteoric rise, it didn't take you that long to put your mathematical reasoning, your mathematical understanding and vision to really good use.
Well, I also, I think that I have a few advantages, just maybe, obviously size is not does not directly affect your ability to play, especially now. When I was playing at my best, most of the women were quite large. And I mean tall. I mean, I have been on cards before where I was the shortest one at 5'11". And
Wow.
now the top players are rather petite and very tiny. So obviously that's not necessarily an indication of whether you're going to be good or not. But I did find success fairly quickly for whatever reason. And I think, again, this is not unusual to today, but I think it was very unusual for 30 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's been 30 years. 30 years ago, I had a goal, I had a plan, I had all that I needed to learn and to practice and how I was going to get there written out. And I was very meticulous about what I needed to do to get to that end point. And that included more than just throwing frisbees. That also included being in the best cardiovascular shape that I could be in. So I would never be tired walking up a hill. It included lifting weights and, all of this stuff that I think perhaps I was a little ahead of the time for the FPO 30 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just talking to Mace before this. Basically, the women who are able to support themselves full time on the tour now, the fact that purses are what they are, if they are this good, if they are this successful, it's only because they're standing on the shoulder of the giants who preceded them. And it's great to have the giant reawaken and start walking the land again. Honestly, your presence back on the tour, not only in the family sense, but just also in terms of let's not beat around the bush, cementing the legend, because you are a legend. I mean,
You're very
you look at
kind.
the stats.
And there were definitely many women that were very successful before I came around. So I certainly didn't invent this or wasn't the first to do so. But
Right.
I do feel extraordinarily fortunate that I can legitimately be a part of it now as I was 30 years ago. And I'm not a maternal person. I don't have children, but I feel that way towards the young players now. And it almost feels weird to say it, but I sort of feel a little bit of a pride watching them not only succeed, but just having the opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and you obviously should. It's, laying the groundwork. None of that would be possible without that, and you were instrumental in all that.
And I never doubted that we'd get there. I just didn't think I'd see it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I said it a bunch of times. I was like, well, it's going to happen, but it's probably not going to be happening while I'm alive. And if it wasn't for COVID, honestly, that still might be true. I mean,
if it wasn't for COVID, I probably would not be out there because I would probably still be doing my software engineering job.
Right.
And here's a perfect segue
Well,
to another question that we had for you today.
I don't know if that's the computer software business, but just prior to, I mean, you kind of walked away from the game and you transitioned into the freestyle world. Really, again, with the same meteoric ascendancy as in disc golf, starting in 2014. You're, as I said, you're the 4-time WIF div champ, but also you're the 2-time, is it?
I have 2 world
Freestyle
titles
FPA championship.
in yes, FPA, yes.
That helps round out the 11 overall world titles that you have under your belt.
Well, so not all world titles are equally extravagant or important's not exactly the right word, but so you've talked about the WIFDIF. The WIFDIF is an overall event that includes 7 different disciplines, all Frisbee related, and you compete in all of them. The person who has the most points wins the overall. But now
Right.
some of those individual sports are also considered world titles. So, there's
Oh,
an accuracy world title, but not all of them, because, obviously the disc golf, that's not considered. Now it's not. It was. Dave Dunapace, for example, has a WIFDIF world
Oh,
title that he considers a world championship title. My husband, Jim Oates, has a WIFDIF disc golf world title that I would also consider a real world title, because back then there were hundreds and hundreds of people playing in that event, whereas the world championship might have gotten 40. So back
right.
then, those first events were extraordinarily meaningful.
And
But
honestly, oh, I'm sorry.
no, so I was just going to say, as far as the number of world titles, technically it's 28, but not all of them are at the same level, because some of them,
Wow,
an overall
nice.
world.
So
28.
B,
That's okay. No, that's
B, you just
official.
your
Yeah,
research chops just kind of slipped a little there, guy.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I need to go back and hit the interwebs one more time. But one of the things that you've constantly in all of your interviews, you've always referred to it as frisbee. And I know what really rankles a lot of the hardcore disc golf purists is calling any golf disc a frisbee. But
And
in the time before the bifurcation of all the sports, when we all played with the same frisbees, those are kind of the true world champions, because the people who can win those are doing it with the exact same equipment.
so I've been on both sides of this. I started disc golf was my introduction to the world of frisbee, and so yes, at that point I would never call a disc golf disc a frisbee. But after I started playing the overalls, and WIFDIF is the World Flying Disc Federation, is the umbrella over the top of even the PDGA. So yes, disc is specifically the correct term that we use, but frisbee is just one more level above that. And I say it because it then encompasses all of the disciplines that I have worked towards, and it is also slightly more relatable to a layperson, the word frisbee, than the word disc.
Absolutely. Yeah. I refuse to call it froth, but definitely the word frisbee is the first thing that I use to describe it. And all of the people would say, "Oh, you mean disc golf?" Okay, yeah. Well, you've been initiated into the first level of disc masonry, as it were.
And I believe that when I'm in the disc golf community, that I'm pretty good at just saying disc. It's when I'm talking about my career as a whole, or talking to somebody outside of disc golf, that then I definitely do consciously use the word frisbee.
So not to belabor the point, but just to bring it to the people's attention, just want to say where you came from with in terms of disc, as we're saying the disc. 5 world championships in 7 years. That's remarkable. You were playing
Six
against some
6 years.
98, 99, 2000,
Well, okay,
2001.
6 events for 5 wins.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Um, all right. Amazing. Like your mindset is incredible. The same mindset that allows you to follow coding to the exact degree that allows you to follow freestyle to become incredible. Your focus, you said at the beginning, you're not quite sure what you can describe your success to. Well, your personality, you are a driven player. You proved it all out there on the tour when you were the first time out. And it just, I mean, we looked at your overall wins versus the overall cash. It's pathetic, because women should have been getting more. You should have been able to support yourself 100% at the time, instead of the way it was.
Well, and I think even if there was a little bit more money in it, I still would have gotten out of the sport when I did. If there was a lot more money in it, actually, interestingly enough, if there was a lot more money in it, I might have gotten out after one win, because of the spotlight that
Mm.
is now on the players, the social media aspect, the fact that they have to be visible all the time. I'm not as good at that as the young players are, but I'm a lot better at it than I would have been 30 years ago. It would have been way, way, way too much of a barrier for me to even want to be around had it been that big that at that time.
That's interesting. I know I've known you for quite a while, and we've had a lot of talks, and so I understand where you're coming from with that, but I never really thought about that being a factor, because it would have been, obviously, and I think it is now, obviously, too, but
I mean, not only the fact that somebody who happens to be shy has to put themselves out there, but more than that, unfortunate fact that women are judged by appearance, and to have to read comments pro and con, both would be very, very hard and would affect me negatively at that time. So I really feel for the young women in the sport now, the type of standards that they're expected to live up to that have nothing to do with disc golf.
Yeah, it's getting under the fishbowl eye, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like whether it's a blessing or a curse, the world of social media is with us. Future generations are going to navigate those kind of perils, and what kind of mental resilience will serious introverts have to develop in order to, because it's a world without any privacy or expectation thereof, with the cameras on at all times. If you're picking your nose, the gallery's catching it. You're viral instantly, right?
Yeah.
I know you would never do that.
Again, it's just so interesting how different the world has become, specifically, as we look at it in our little sport right here, but really across the board.
So getting to the freestyle portion of it all, do you only just do the WIFDIF overalls? Are you still also including freestyle or overall tournaments in your schedule?
I am not. Last overall tournament I played was in 2019. That's the last freestyle that I did as well. And freestyle really shut down with COVID. It is far, far smaller than, orders of magnitude smaller than disc golf. And so you would travel, if you were playing freestyle, you would be traveling country to country. And clearly none of that was happening in the years of COVID. It is starting to get back, it is starting up again. Last year, the Freestyle World Championships were held for the first time since 2019. And that was in Italy. So, what's really interesting is many of these freestylers that did nothing, or 90% freestyle, many of them are transitioning into disc golf.
yeah.
And oh yeah, a lot of them. And
wow.
Let's see, Bianca Struns from Germany. She is a world champion freestyler, and she's playing all kinds of tournaments now. I'm not sure what level she's playing, but I often see her with a first place trophy in her hand.
Oh.
And Edo Turi, a young man from Italy, who is arguably maybe the second best freestyler in the world, is showing all kinds of disc golf videos now. So it's really cool how at least in other parts of the world, because freestyle is much bigger in other parts of the world than it is here, most of the people in the States are sort of aging out of the very physical sport, and we don't have a lot of new growth. So this is mostly in other parts of the world, and it's just really, really refreshing to see it happen.
Absolutely. It's ironic to see this return to disc golf, because at one time freestyle was the biggest frisbee sport on the planet, certainly in North America. And one of our early guests last season was, I don't know if you know Wayne Kahn. He's been a freestyler and all around frisbee and disc golfer since the early 70s here. But he
he was telling us stories of the early days, and you would have like at the Rosedale Parade, the Rose Bowl. Sorry, not Rosedale, the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Rosedale is a section in Toronto. I don't know what I'm thinking about that. But televised, they would have teams. So here in Canada, they had the Bud Light freestyle team that was touring across Canada,
Yeah.
and the States too. I know Crazy John was touring hardcore, and
How Baby was in that as well.
Yep.
it feels like that, like what you're saying. There's not really much new growth, and so a lot of the old players are just kind of holding on to the preservers of knowledge, of freestyle knowledge.
So before we're getting off on this on this
Tangent.
tangent, thank you. You were asking if I'm still playing overall in freestyle, and the answer is no. And
Right.
I kind of still pine for the outlet, especially the jamming on the beach with Murphy, which I used to do a lot, Dave Murphy. But I don't feel like will be able to give disc golf everything that it needs if I spend a lot of time working on the other events. So I'd rather do something, I'd rather put everything into one thing. That's what made the overall so hard. You had 7 events that you had to train for.
Right.
So you really had to determine, which event will a little bit of work where can I get the most bang for my buck? Where am I middle of the pack, and with a little bit of work I can get upper quarter or something like that. So that was an interesting part of the strategy of the overall. And I think that I'm going to start jamming a little bit more, which is what freestylers call just going out and playing for fun. And I have a tournament. One of my first tournaments is down in San Diego, and it's kind of my old stomping grounds. And I had I'm sorry, I'm speaking a language so when you freestyle, you often wear fake nails.
Sure.
So that there's no friction with the disc spinning on your fingernail. So if you do not have either extraordinarily hard fingernails and long fingernails, you really need some kind of acrylic, or sometimes they're made out of like dental material or even bone. But I used to get mine done at San Diego nail salon permanently, semi-permanently, acrylics, super, super thick, like embarrassingly thick for the woman who was doing them, because it's supposed to be an art to be able to do them thin, and like more. And so I've got a tournament down there in early February, and I think I might stop by and have her do my fingernails again. It lasts for a month or so, and then you can just fill in, and it does not negatively affect my disc golf throw.
Cool.
And
very good to know.
And it's really puts me in kind of a free flowing, more like an artistic mindset than super regimented. And I think that's a good mind frame to be in, to go out on the disc golf course. Sort of let your body do what it knows how to do, instead of your mind trying to force your body to do what it wants it to do.
Well, if this last year, as I mentioned, Wayne Kahn, he was part of a group that freestyle scene is pretty vibrant here in Toronto, and the community here decided to host an unofficial Canadian Open, because it'd been like 15 years or something since the last Canadian Open, and there was no competition official, but I'd say probably 60 people from the States came up, including this guy who's from I don't know where he's living. I think Virginia. James, I think they were just
Wiseman, he's in North Carolina.
Awe of him.
Yes.
And the stuff he was doing under the lights was just, even I was just like, I don't know anything about it. I'm like, oh my God, what is that?
Well, so actually, if you have a little bit of knowledge of freestyle, you'll be even more impressed with what he's doing, because there's something, it's called against the spin or with the spin. And if you do a move that's with a spin, it's pretty easy. If you do the same move against the spin, it's twice as hard, much harder, and almost everything that he's doing is against the spin. So wow. Somebody could do almost exactly what or to the untrained eye the same thing, but it would be 7th grade level, and he's postdoc level, doing he is the best freestyler in the world.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
he was putting on a show for everybody here at Trinity Bellwoods Park. And Wayne specifically asked me to ask you to put the invite out. They would love to see you if you have time in your tour coming up this summer in August. I don't know the exact weekend, but I can get that to you. If you have the time, come to Toronto and I don't know if it's going to be official Canadian Open this year. I'm going to talk to the tournament directors, but already the word is out. I'm supposed to be the intro guy for all the freestylers. So
Oh, fantastic.
I'll start building up the material on you as we speak.
Well, I can't promise, actually, I can say it's probably unlikely that I would be there this year, but this is I believe that this is probably the last year that I'm going to try to compete with it's not going to be the last year that I play in FPO, but it's going to be the last year that I try to get enough points to get into the Tour Championships. So I am going to try to hit nearly every elite stop, and I want to get enough events that I have points for all. I'm not saying this correctly. You know, you have 10 elite events, they count 8. I've never had 8. I've never had that maximum amount in the years that I've been playing, the last couple of years.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've never had an even shake at making enough points to get into the finals. And this year I will, provided nothing else gets in the way. But my schedule has me hitting enough events. And so after this year, then I'll probably relax a little bit more and just play the ones that are fun and not worry about trying to accumulate points for any end goal, and just go where the breeze takes me.
Beautiful. I mean, that sounds amazing. And Mace, we were talking earlier, and you clued me in on my error. I was under the misapprehension that in 2021, Juliana lost her job and rejoined the tour. But what were you saying about that, Mace?
That's what I put my hand up for. Anyways, yeah, so I believe if I remember correctly, we were talking the second year I ran into you at the memorial, that you were in like it was right before COVID and then right after COVID, that you had decided to dissolve your business with your partner and go back to being the Frisbee vagabond.
It was 2020. It was 2020 when we dissolved the company, and I at that point did not intend to just hit the road. I intended to go say hi to the Frisbee family and play, 3-4 events max, and then go try to interview and find another tech job. And it just sucked me back in, and I couldn't walk away again. I didn't really expect that my best would still be able to compete with the best. And I think I'm still close enough that I have dreams of grandeur in the division. And if I want to give it a try, I have to do it now. I'm barely more than a week away from being 52 years old. So yeah, my window of opportunity is now. And
Sure.
I can always go get another programming job later if I want to.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's like we talked about in Rock Hill. Was it last year or was it the year before? I guess it was the year before.
I think it was the year before.
And you were like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I think you need to keep riding until it throws you off. I mean, it's not going to get easier, so keep on." And I'm as an old friend of yours, I'm really happy to see you out there. I'm sure you hear that from a lot of people too. But it's really easy to root for you, and it's always great to see you. And so it's we'll take some more of you as long as we can have you. You're always welcome. You're always welcome at the get together.
Thank you. Yeah, again, this sport has given me so many gifts, and the friendships of so many people very high among those gifts.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So we've kind of brushed by and about what's going on. So what's going on? Where are you right now? Are you in California right now?
At this moment, I'm in California, but as well, maybe you can tell from my surroundings, it's extremely sparse. In fact, I put up that picture just so there'd be something on the wall.
Nice.
Jim and I are packing everything up, and because we plan on being on the road for 10 months this year, we aren't going to pay rent in this place as we don't plan on coming back here. We don't know where we're going to go at the end of the year, which is a little bit scary, but
Yeah.
we are going to put everything in storage and just hit the road.
It's a lot less scary when you're
Nice.
doing it with a partner though, right?
Oh my goodness, yes. Yes.
So when are you leaving? What's the date that you walk out of that door, and what's the first event you play?
First event, well, okay, walking out the door, we have to be out of here by the 31st of January.
Okay.
The first event that we're playing is the NorCal SoCal Championships, which is in Santa Maria, an old school favorite for the California players. And then we hit a few bigger tournaments that are still not on the tour, like the Old Goats Challenge, which is the first of the Masters Tour series,
Oh,
which
cool.
is very exciting. Very, very happy that Callie is putting all this work into trying to get something for the Masters age players.
Absolutely.
Then wintertime, and then we're in Vegas. So I have like 3 distinct areas of my tour this year. The FPO DGPT tract, and then last year I played a few Masters events, and I didn't know whether to, I almost felt embarrassed playing in the 50, and so then I'd play in the 40, but it just didn't really feel, I didn't know where to go. And this year I have committed, if I'm not playing at the absolute top level, I'm going to play my age. I'm going to play in the 50 division. So, I might have a bunch of divisions of 3 people. I'm used to that.
Old school.
Right.
But yeah, so when I play in Callie's Masters Tour, I'm going to play my age, and that's going to be a very different environment. Like the first tournament I'm so excited for, Annie Kreml has ties down in San Diego, and she's playing in the Old Goats Challenge
Awesome.
in my
Nice.
division. So I can't wait. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world, and
She's one of the coolest people on the
Yeah.
planet for sure.
absolutely. So
Please tell her we say hi.
I will do that. Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
we'll be hitting her up to be on the show too, for sure.
Good.
Without a doubt.
And then my third avenue for this particular season is the commentary. I am currently planning to do live commentary for 8 events.
Nice.
I think it's 6 silvers and 2 elites. So that'll give
Nice.
me, yeah, and I think that's good, because it's going to give me a little bit of break, and I can focus on something different at different times of the tour, instead of being so concerned of just one aspect of my life.
I think it's part and parcel of the whole growth of the sport, that we see all the ancillary and subsidiary enterprises, commentary, making videos, all the merchandise sales that don't have anything to do with actually selling discs. The fact that we've got this rise of commentating, and especially this DIY broadcasting, I think, it gives all of us an even chance. None of us went to broadcasting college. We didn't take, degrees in communications. I know I certainly did. You got triple major. Maybe you got a quad in there somewhere. You never know. But I think it's a great opportunity for the world also to see, because you get to share your wisdom about things, and this is, insights on little things. That pays big money when you come to any sports play-by-play.
Yeah, I never dreamt that I would be looking forward to doing commentary. And speaking of degrees, when I was in school, I always thought I would be an actuary. And I actually shadowed a guy who was an actuary one day, and he kept emphasizing how it's such a social position. I was like, no, I want to sit in a room with I don't want to see people. I just want my numbers and my computer. And I was after his tour, clearly he was mistaken on what I was interested in, and I never looked back at actuaries, and nope, that's not for me.
What the world could have lost if you would have just hid yourself away in a little cinder block room.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things one of the things about the commentary, it doesn't matter the sport, but it's so much more beneficial. You know, I mean, like people might play a little bit, but I mean, like someone who did it and who's done it for a long time, and you know, and who's got, you're speaking from experience. You're talking about your perspective on the course. You know what I mean? It's one of the things like I see with Ian and Philo, like Philo's speaking from experience on the course, and I see Ian asking a lot of questions, you know, and so that works back and forth. But I think it's much more beneficial to have someone who's actually been out there wading around in it than someone
Yeah.
sitting on the dock or riding in a boat and talking about, oh, this is what's going on in the pond over here. Well, you got mud in your toes. You know what went on, you know?
Well, one thing that really scared me about doing commentary was to speak to a tournament or a course where I had not played. And thankfully,
That's understandable.
yeah, because a lot of times the elevation or the side angles of the topography don't come through on the video. So that's something that I think is important to address so that players know why a particular shot that looks easy might not be, or vice versa.
Sure.
And that's the kind of thing that I really like to bring out. And this year, the Silver Series broadcasts are going to be done remotely. So I will be able to still follow the tour. I can go to the course in the morning or well, I mean, not the morning that I'm going to be on live, but the week prior, and I can practice the course like I would normally, but I'm practicing it to do the commentary instead of practicing it to compete it.
That's a fascinating new turn of events for you right there. That's an elegant phrasing for it too. And you know, delivering that level of verisimilitude for the people who are following along, telling them it's not just, oh, it's a downhill shot, but that it, you know, it falls away this side, or particular aspects of gravity. And for you, the aesthetic aspect, the serenity now aspect of being out on the course, any course, has been one of the lifelong draws for you. That's one of the things that you encourage in all of your interviews, is just get out there, enjoy nature.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes, that is very true.
Nice. What are the big tournament highlights that you're anticipating, or the big tournaments that you circled on your schedule that you're like already looking forward to? I know you've mentioned the first few, but like in terms of like qualifying for the national tour, for the championships.
Well, I had good success the last couple of years at OTB. I don't know why exactly, but both years I did fairly well there, and I'm hoping that trend continues. I love Portland very much, to the point where Jim and I have discussed possibly that being one of the places where we want to end up. So any time in Portland is wonderful. And this year it starts with a Silver Series at Milo, and I might have the order wrong, forgive me, but then there's the Tim Selinsky in Eugene, and then the elite event in Portland, and I think there's a Silver Series in Missouri, not Missouri, Montana, and then back to Milo MacIver. This one I'm choosing, I think it's a B, but it's a Masters event over the DDO Elite event, because I don't have to be at all of them, because I've got enough this year, and Milo is just a magical place. And you know, and we're not just, Jim and I are not just on tour for me, we're on tour for him as well. And so he's going to be able to play a bunch of events, and he has always done extremely well at Milo. And so this is one that we're going to choose, the lower tier Masters tournament, for fun and ambience and the reunion and all of it, over the elite event. But it might sound weird, but that's one that I'm really looking forward to, because
That doesn't
it'll
sound
be
weird at all.
you know, it's obviously I want to do as well as I can at the big tournaments, but being able to relax and not have to be so focused and so concerned about playing my absolute best and just going out and playing for fun, still in a tournament in one of the most beautiful places in the world, with 100 other Master Sage players. It's going to be great.
Oh, it sounds like my version of paradise right there, for sure.
Well, and
Because
those players are all players that you've known forever and ever. And
family
it's,
reunion.
and I think that to me, like, that's one thing that we're working on bringing Mace Man back in a lot of different ways. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to personally is going to some Masters events, because I'm going to know most of those people, as opposed to
Yeah.
going to like any of the Pro Tour events. Like, I've made the switch in the last 15 years where I went from like 80-20 to 20-80, where I knew 80% of the people and I didn't know 20. Now I only know 20% of the people, and I'm wondering who these other 80% are. And there's a lot of that 80%. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, in the Memorial last year, I had to go 3/4 of the way down Nines fairway, the last hole before you cross the road. Like from like that fairway down to where that basket is that's coming back, 13, I think, before I found somebody that I knew to ask who 2 of the people were on the lead card. Like, I knew who their names were, but I didn't know which body belonged to which name. I knew 2 of them and I didn't know 2 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and there's probably, I don't even know. I don't know how to gauge crowd sizes like that, but there was at least 1,000 people around. And I went through about 980 of them before I found somebody else. What's going on here,
Now, I
Yeah.
don't know math, but that sounds more like 2%.
Okay, so it was 900, 850, whatever. It was an amazing amount of people. And, someplace I've been lots and lots and lots of times, even recently, lots of times, probably 4 or 5 in a row now. And still, hey, anybody, somebody, anybody?
Yeah, it's such a wonderful problem, quote unquote, to have.
Sure.
And this is kind of what's fueled our interest in this podcast, was to put it in front of people, hopefully connect with new generations of players who are media savvy. You can go on YouTube and find us there, or Facebook, find the archive there. A lot of people on Instagram. I mean, you're getting new followers just based on your Insta account, which, by the way, I have to say, one of the greatest for me as a viewer, watching you do the trick is amazing. But watching your little smile of satisfaction when you land a trick, that's the capper.
You have to go back a couple years probably in my Instagram feed to see the videos that Paul's talking about. But yes, I used to, and so I started documenting my freestyle journey pretty darn early when I was trying to gain all these skills. So I learned how to nail delay back in probably 99, but I couldn't do anything else for the most part, couldn't do much else. But I already had that when I started working on freestyle, which was a good solid foundation. And then I almost wanted to show disc golfers that I wasn't just naturally good at X.
Right.
So I almost wanted to show the failures as much as the successes. And then it kind of snowballed, and I had no idea, when I got into disc golf quite early, I made the very lofty goal of I will be at the very top at some point. But I never did that in freestyle, because I started that in my 40s, and this is a sport that's quite physical, and people are jumping all over the place and crashing on the ground. And it's just, there's a more noticeable tapering off in the physicality of
Oh, really?
the moves that are being done. Yeah. I'm not saying that older players aren't fantastic, but they're
No,
not
right.
doing flying guiduses catches like they did when they were in their 20s. Like Dave Murphy used to do a front flip catch. He's not doing that anymore. An awful lot of freestylers have had hip replacements and knee problems directly because of the crashing that they do on these big catches. So I came at it from a much more conservative play. I don't want to break anything else. I've broken plenty of things in my life. And I just wanted to be good enough that I wasn't embarrassed that was a deficiency in my overall game. And then it just became so much fun. I just couldn't stop.
Yeah, well, you definitely looked like you were having fun the whole time,
I
without a
mean,
doubt.
if you're not having fun, really, what's the point of keeping going? We all have a day job, but you know, in order not to lose your mind over this, if you're not doing so well, you got to remember the plain pure joy aspect. What brought us initially into this was, I mean, we weren't forced to play it. Our parents didn't say you got to go out there and play the course in order to be a world champion. It came to us. It's, you know, the light of inspiration found us.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful way to put it. When I said that this year maybe I would do a little bit more freestyle, like just a warm up, just do some warm up stuff before I go out and play the course. And I think that's exactly, you just captured it there. I want to remember the joy that throwing a frisbee or disc has given me, and that's a good mindset to be in when going out on the course.
Well, please certainly always remember that joy, because your smile definitely lights up the course. It lights up the city. We're going to have to start looking for alternative energy models, and you know, solar powered smiles are going to be part of that solution. Definitely. Want to thank you so much for sitting down and participating with us in this, for opening yourself up and sharing the stories. Hopefully not your last visit with us. Hopefully we can reach out to you at some point. You know, maybe at one point you and Jim can give us a little road report on and status update on where you are and how
There
the
you
summer's
go.
been
That's a good
unfolding.
idea.
Sure. Yes, we
Great
can do
idea.
that.
Definitely want to wish you the best luck in qualifying for the Tour Championships. I know this is it's an amazing new direction we're going when we see this hierarchy leveling of, you know, we've got elite levels, silver levels, lesser levels, and they really start to mean something important. So, you know, good luck in your quest for that, for sure.
Thank you.
And safe travels
Yeah,
down the road.
definitely.
Thank you very much. This has been wonderful sitting down with you. To be honest, was nervous to do so. Didn't know what old stories you
Oh,
were going
I
to
knew
bring up.
you were
but-
going to be, but I also knew, I mean, like it's that goes back to that whole thing too, you know, the commentary. I mean, folks want to hear what you have to say, and you have a lot to say. So, I mean, we need to hear your information. We need you to share it, and don't keep it under your hat, you know?
Well, I thank you to both of you. I appreciate you. You were both there for me 20 years ago during some rough personal times. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, to let the audience in, when I went through a divorce, I had been traveling on the road, and then I continued on the road by myself. And it was basically the first time in my life that I'd been by myself. And I pretty much made a beeline to Toronto and hung out with you two, and sort of got
Yeah,
my
well,
head straight.
and we got to stay a lot of places together beyond that. I remember that. I have a lot of memories. Like, I remember at Trapasso's when you came to me and told me about the offer Dunapace had made to you. And you're like, what do I do? What do you think? You know, and I was like, ooh, this is awesome, you know, because I'd had a similar experience with Kenny in Ann Arbor, when Kenner tried to talk him in. Like, I was splitting hotel rooms with Kenny and Dodge and Kenny's girlfriend. We were wandering, getting ready for 96 Worlds, and you know, Kenner took a champ to dinner and tried to get him over that way, you know what I mean? And it was just like, holy cow, here I am again, another Innova, you know, someone trying to pull a coup on Innova.
Centrally
Well,
placed.
it was a big deal back then. It was
For
not
sure.
done.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was Hatfield McCoy, you know, each trying to pawn the other clansmen, for sure.
Yeah, lots of good times. And I'm sure we'll have more.
Absolutely.
You know, here's another good one. The hospital drive-by about 12 months ago. How about that one?
Oh gosh, yeah. So again, to let the audience know, Jim, my husband now, my fiance back then, had quadruple bypass surgery, and boy, your vision of your life and the world and everything sure changes when something that dire falls into your lap. And Mace, where were you going? You had another.
I was on my way to the Bay. I was going to meet up with Roger, and then eventually the next day I watched this guy blow glass, and it was the beginning of my vacation. So I was coming from Reno to the Bay Area through Sacramento.
Yeah, so Mace calls me up, and well, actually you probably text me, because you know I prefer text to calls. and see if we could get together. And while I wasn't leaving Jim's side of his bed.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely refused to leave the room. Yeah.
and so we did a drive-by. So I gave him directions, and Mace came by the front of the hospital, and Jim was able to walk to the window, and we were able to wave as Mace went by. So yes, you were.
And
you
then,
were-
and then we were talking on the phone at the same time while that was going on too. So that was really cool. And I was
That
happy.
Cool, dude.
I think it probably warmed all three of our hearts equally, and for a variety of reasons. But I mean, just because we're friends and family, I mean,
Well, yeah, it makes you realize just how many people are there for you, and you may forget that in your time of trying circumstances. So it was wonderful for you to reach out to us and do that for us.
well, and for me too, it was just like you just never know when you're going to run across another friend, and whenever you're going to cross paths with somebody again. And I say this all the time when when I'm talking with friends that I haven't seen or heard from in a while. It's like I look forward to our paths crossing again, and I don't know when that's going to be, and I don't know where it's going to be, but it's always cool. It's always great. So, and and we'll get you on here too, Jim. Don't kid yourself. But I want to. We're going to interview you after you've got a few events under your belt, and have some ticker talk.
Yeah, he's got a much fuller schedule. So one of the problems with having heart surgery or open heart surgery is you're not allowed to raise your arms for like months. So there's a lot of atrophy, and his shoulders got his right shoulder got pretty sore from just lack of use. And so now it's an endurance question. Hopefully he's got a bunch of tournaments right in the beginning, and then it's kind of spaced out much better. So hopefully he'll be able to hit many, if not all of the, I think 16 or 17 events that he's currently got on his schedule.
Welcome back, Mr.
Nice.
Carter.
That's pretty
Okay.
ambitious. Good luck
Wow.
with all that, for sure.
Thank you.
For both of you. And again, thanks for stopping by, and definitely look forward to seeing y'all sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. You have a wonderful day. Okay.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, see you. So